Imagine finishing a full load of laundry today, opening the door, and discovering there is no dryer. No machine humming in the basement. No warm towels. No button to press. The clothes are wet, heavy, and sitting in a basket. And now somebody has to take every shirt, every towel, every sheet outside and hang it up by hand. For millions of American families in the 1950s, that wasn't some old-fashioned lifestyle choice. It was simply laundry day. And sitting in the backyard was a remarkably simple piece of equipment that made the whole thing possible. A clothesline. It sounds almost too ordinary to be interesting. But in the 1950s, the clothesline sat at the intersection of technology, household labor, weather, architecture, and the changing American idea of convenience. Because here's the strange part. America was already becoming an appliance society. Washing machines were spreading rapidly. Electricity was transforming homes. Manufacturers were advertising machines that promised to save women time and effort. And yet the final stage of laundry was still being done outside, one clothespin at a time. In fact, according to U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data, only about 10% of American households owned a clothes dryer by the middle of the 1950s. So if 9 out of 10 homes didn't have one, what happened to all that wet laundry? It went outside. And that is where the story gets much more interesting. Because the backyard clothesline wasn't just a place to hang clothes. It was part of the machinery of everyday life. To understand why the clothesline mattered, you have to start with what happened before the clothes ever reached the backyard. Laundry in the 1950s was already becoming easier than it had been for previous generations. Automatic and powered washing machines were changing the work. But easier didn't mean effortless. The washing machine could agitate the clothes, could rinse them, and depending on the machine, it could spin some of the water away. But the clothes still had to be dried. And drying outdoors had one enormous advantage. The machine didn't have to provide the energy. The sun did. The wind did. The air did. A clothesline was essentially a simple solar-powered drying system, long before anyone would have described it that way. Period accounts describe laundry being squeezed through wringers before being carried outside, while clotheslines could run from a house or porch toward a pole, tree, fence, or another support. Some homes used fixed lines. Others used pulley systems. And some backyards had freestanding umbrella-style lines. The design changed. The basic principle didn't. Get the wet fabric into moving air. Give it enough space. Let nature remove the water. And this is where the clothesline reveals something important about 1950s life. The backyard wasn't just decoration. It was working space. Could be part laundry room, part garden, part play area, part storage area, and sometimes even part social space. But there is a detail about the clothesline that is easy to miss. It wasn't simply a wire stretched between 2 points. The arrangement of the line could determine how much work laundry day required. A pulley could allow the person doing the washing to pull the line toward them instead of walking back and forth across the yard. A pole could keep the line high enough to prevent sheets from dragging. Some systems allowed several rows of clothing to be arranged across the available space. And then there were the clothespins, hundreds of small pieces of wood, doing one job over and over again. Pin, move, pin, move, pin, move. It sounds primitive now, but look at the problem they were solving. A household could have shirts, dresses, towels, underwear, sheets, pillowcases, and work clothes all needing to dry. The dryer solved that problem mechanically. The clothesline solved it spatially. Spread the fabric out. Expose as much surface as possible. Let air move around it. And suddenly the backyard becomes part of the laundry machine. This is also why weather mattered so much. A sunny day wasn't simply pleasant. It was productive. Rain could change the schedule. Humidity could slow everything down. Wind could help or create another problem. And the person responsible for laundry had to plan around all of it. And that brings us to the first big surprise. The clothesline wasn't surviving because America had failed to modernize. It was surviving alongside modernization. America wasn't choosing between modern appliances and old-fashioned laundry. It was combining them. That is what makes the 1950s so interesting. The washing machine could handle much of the hardest part of cleaning. The clothesline handled the drying. And for many families, that combination made sense. Why spend money and electricity on a machine that the sun could replace? Especially when the dryer was still expensive and relatively uncommon. Now we reach the second surprise. The clothesline didn't disappear because someone invented a better way to dry fabric. That invention already existed. The real change was economic and cultural. As household incomes rose, appliances became more affordable. As homes became more electrified, installing and operating them became easier. And manufacturers learned how to sell convenience as a form of progress. The message gradually changed. You didn't have to wait for sunshine. You didn't have to watch the weather. You didn't have to carry wet laundry outside. You didn't have to stand there attaching dozens of clothespins. You could put everything inside a machine. That was more than a technical improvement. It changed what people expected from a home. A household appliance wasn't merely something that performed a task. Could give time back. And that became increasingly valuable. By 1970, roughly 45% of U.S. households owned a clothes dryer, compared with about 10% in the mid-1950s. The shift was enormous. The backyard didn't suddenly become useless, but one of its jobs was being transferred indoors. And notice what disappeared with it. Not just the wet clothes. The weather mattered less. The backyard mattered less. The daily rhythm of hanging laundry mattered less. And the small ritual of standing outside, moving from one garment to another, slowly disappeared from ordinary life. Modern life had solved a problem. But solving a problem can sometimes erase an entire routine. Today, we may not even notice when it disappears. And maybe that's the most interesting thing about it. The things that shape everyday life rarely look important while we're living with them. Sometimes they are just a piece of wire in the backyard. Until one day they're gone. If you want to uncover more forgotten stories of everyday history, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and go watch the full video right now over on Echoes of Yesterday US.